if I had just 30 days to generate as many meetings as possible for myself, just using LinkedIn, here's the exact process that I would do. And no, I'm not talking about paid ads. I'm not talking about posting on a regular basis. And I'm definitely not talking about creating fancy funnels with automations and things like that. And this is the exact process that I do for my clients that generates 3 to 5 meetings on a weekly basis, each and every single week with qualified prospects. With that being said, let's get straight into it. So what I'm talking about here and what this is about to explain is actually reaching out to people and sending personalized messages to people directly who are your ideal customer profile to go and get meetings and then sales calls. And I just want to go very quickly into actually fixing your profile here. So I know it sounds cliche and everyone's saying optimize your profile, make sure you got everything sorted, do this fancy funnel, what's your fonts looking like. I'm not talking about that. All I'm talking about is just to follow these key steps here. So make sure you're actually showing your face and explaining to people what you do, who you help, and then the outcome that you deliver. So without having this nailed down, people are not going to accept your connection request, or if they do accept your connection request, it's just not clear in terms of what you do. And if they find that hard to understand, they're probably not going to message you back when you actually start to reach out to them. So just some 2 very quick examples. I literally found these on LinkedIn within about 2 seconds. So Roberto, you can see he's filling all of those criteria. So he's got his picture of his face there. He's explaining what he does. So he builds AI agent platforms and workflows. You can see it clearly he's in some sort of AI and automation industry. You can see where he works because he's tagged his company profile and he's got some good credibility. You can see how many followers he's got and how many connections he's got. So, and you can see his job title there, he's a CEO. Again, Ben Heath, he's showing his face there. It's exactly clear what he does. So he's a paid ads expert and he's some credibility here. Generated 150 million in managed ad spend. You can see he's got some credibility here. He's on stage, and you don't need to worry about, I've not got this credibility here. I've not been on stage doing some sort of seminar talk. But as long as it's just clear in terms of what you do, I mean, he's got his website here. So I'm not trying to deep it too much. I just want you to make sure that you've got your profile looking pretty good so then people can see what you do. Ideally, you want your company profile tagged like you've got it here, but Ben's so credible in the space. Look, he's got 41,000 followers, probably doesn't even need his company website on there. So you're probably thinking, well, I'm not a graphic design expert. I can't do this, can't do that. It's going to take you probably 20 minutes maximum to actually go and get this sorted. So if you haven't got a profile picture, then all you need to do is go to Canva. It's free. Plug in your profile picture and just replace it with one of these. If you type in LinkedIn profile picture here, it will give you some examples in terms of what you can be uploading and what you can be doing. Same with the banner image as well. So if you just type in LinkedIn banner image, there's 20,000 templates here. Use one of them, edit it, put your name on it, put what you do, and then upload it to LinkedIn. Simple, done. Okay, so now get into the thick of it. So all we want to do now, I'm going to presume that you've got your ideal customer profile, you know who you service, and then you're thinking, okay, how am I going to find these leads? Like, leads may just seem an absolute minefield for you, but I can tell you it's extremely simple when you're using this strategy. So you want to go to LinkedIn Sales Navigator. You can get a month for free, or you can get 2 months for free if someone refers you. And all you want to do now is actually use it to go and find a list of people who to go and target. Now I'm going to very quickly speed run through this. So when you come to LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you'll come to a page that looks something like this. And you can see that there's 126 results in here. But if I just start it from fresh, all I want to do now is just go over to lead filters here. And I'm going to use the example as myself, lead generation business, who are reaching out to real estate agents. So just very quickly, I'm just going to go through it. So if I just do industry and then I go real estate agent, real estate, and then real estate broker. Let's do geography, United Kingdom. And then I only want to reach out to people who have ideally got 1 to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 10 years experience. And then I'm going to leave job titles for now. And I'm just going to reach out to people in a senior position. So director, owner partner, senior, and VP, and CXO. So you can see these people are all in senior positions. You can also do this by specific job title as well. and company headcount. So I'm going to be reaching out to people who are self-employed, company headcount 1 to 10. So the smaller real estate agent firms. Now here's a quick trick as well. So if you put recently posted on LinkedIn, if you toggle that on, it'll only reach out to people who are active on the platform, because if they've posted recently, they're obviously pretty active on the platform. Now I've got this list. There's loads of other things you could be doing, but that's a great start in terms of narrowing your list down. You can see there was 55,000, now there's 1.5 thousand people. So what I would do is have a scan through this and look to see if all of these people are potentially relevant. You can see director, you can see negotiator. I'd probably remove him. Founding partner. If you wanted to remove this person, by the way, all you do is just copy the company name, go into company, and then just exclude them, and then that person will be removed. So let's say I'm happy with this list now. There's 1,500 people. I probably want about 500 people in this list. So all I would do is go and select them here. You can only do it page by page. So, and then you can go and add them to a lead list. So you go save to lead list, and then you do prospects, real estate agent, UK, headcount 1 to 10. And then save that list. And then now all of those leads, you would obviously go and add more in there. All of those leads go over here. And now we'll come to this, but now I can very quickly just go through and click connect and then send someone a connection request, because we're talking about doing outreach and we actually want someone to accept my connection request, and then that's when we can start sending them messages. Otherwise, if you're not connected with them, you're going to have to send them emails, and to be honest, no one really reads emails. I definitely don't, and it's just full of recruiters reaching out to me. So you just want to start connecting with people, send them invitations, but like I said, we'll get back to that stage. So once we've actually sorted that lead list out, now if I wanted to go one step further, and if I had a bit of time and resource, I would actually use Apollo to go and scrape all of those people's emails, and then I would be hitting them with email after if they do not respond to my LinkedIn message. Because I've got my targeted list, I'd really need them to respond. I'd be reaching out to them via email as well, as almost like a follow-up from LinkedIn. But there is cons to that. Obviously, it's going to cost you $49 a month to get the basic plan for Apollo, and then to actually export 1,000 contacts per month. So if you're at that stage, definitely invest in that and go and do it. But for this case, I'm just going to speak about how you can essentially do this for free. So the next stage now is actually figuring out what type of form of outreach am I going to be doing. So there's different ways to actually go and reach out to people. And what I'd be doing is a combination over the next 30 days of different strategies. Now, most people just reach out to people where they're just doing a simple message. What I mean by that is just text-based messages. But if you want to stand out from the crowd and you want a really high response rate, what I recommend doing is some sort of video outreach. So you can use a tool like Loom, Loom. Or you might want to send voice notes within the platform. So on your phone, on LinkedIn, you can send a voice note. So let's say Michael accepted my connection request. That's when I might actually say to him, hey, Michael, the reason why I was connecting was because X, Y, and Z, and then follow up with a question and say, is this something that you're struggling with? I can see that you're posting quite a bit on the platform. Is this generating any good leads at the moment, or are you still struggling to actually generate leads? You leave it with a question where they have to answer, and it's not something like yes or no. So those are the different forms of outreach that you can do. And now you just need to decide if you're going to do it by hand or you're going to do automated outreach. So I'll go through by hand. So the pros and cons would be, obviously, if you're doing it by hand, you're going to be doing a lot more personalized outreach. It's going to be on a one-on-one basis. You're going to have maybe checked out their profile for a couple of minutes. You might have been able to see what sort of experience they've got. If you've got any similar connections that you can mention, you say, hey, it's good to see that you're connected with John. I actually went to school with him. There's loads of other things that you can do like that to be personalized. There's less risk of your account getting flagged by LinkedIn. So most people just spam people when they're doing automated messages because they don't know how to set it up properly. And there's low cost. The only cost is the sunken cost of the time that is spent to go and reach out to people. So if you set aside an hour per day, that's plenty of time for you to be able to systematically go through that list, connect with people, and then start messaging with those people and following up with those people. So going over to the automation tools, like if you're actually going to go and do this automated, there's just obviously one pro to this. So there's time. It just saves you time. So you don't have to manually connect with those people and you don't have to manually follow up with those people. So that's the pro of actually going to do it. There is quite a few cons with doing it with automation tools. So, it's gonna sound robotic when you reach out to people, especially if you don't know the psychology of how people respond and how people read messages. And if you've never done automation before and you don't know how to set it up, it's going to sound robotic, it's going to hurt your meeting rate, and it's probably just not the best place to start. And there's obviously a cost to go and do this. So if you're using a tool like Expandy and you're reaching out to people on autopilot, it's going to cost you a monthly fee. I'm not actually sure what the monthly fee is, but it's probably about $50 a month. And then there's risk of your account getting banned. So, if you haven't got it set up properly and you're not well below the thresholds of actually reaching out to people and connecting with people, depending on LinkedIn's guidelines, then you're going to get flagged, and LinkedIn may, ban your account, or they may just give you a warning. So if you haven't got that set up properly, I would definitely avoid that. And there's other things you can be doing as well. So you want to make sure your profile is verified. You want to make sure that you're withdrawing your old connections so it doesn't look spammy when you're sending loads of connections out and people aren't connecting with you. But there's quite a few things to note here with the automation. But like I was saying, the majority of your time, you just want to be using manual connections and manual messages to people. And just a side note here, you can actually sort of mitigate both of those and actually use a tool like Condo. Essentially, it's just a lightweight CRM, no automation involved. I actually use this to go and sort of segregate the contacts who are in different stages of the pipeline for me. So if people are cold, if people are warm, if I've had a call with people, if I should follow up with them, you can send reminders. There's loads of other things you can do. Again, that's a paid tool as well. But you don't need to worry about that. You can just use the manual connections. So just looking at the sort of realistic KPIs for this now, you're probably thinking, right, okay, there's a lot of work here. I've got to send quite a few messages. Like, how is this all going to pan out? What am I likely to achieve? So I just wanted to explain the sort of worst case scenario for you here in terms of getting meetings. So, to book 3 to 5 meetings per week, it'll obviously vary. I'm going to just explain the worst case scenario in terms of you getting meetings every single month. So let's say in order for you to go and connect with 100 people, so that would be 20 connections per day for 5 days a week, so Monday to Friday. Let's say 45% of those people, which is kind of average, would actually accept your connection request. That's 45 new connections per week. You're obviously going to have, well, depending on what stage you're at on LinkedIn, but you're obviously going to have connections in your current connections anyway that you can reach out to, but this is, going after new people as well. So let's say you send 150 messages per week. Sounds scary, but it's 30 messages per day. It's not a lot. And let's say only 20% of those people reply. So you get 30 replies per week. So you might be having, 30 different conversations at one time going per week. So let's say you get 10% of those 30 replies onto a meeting with you. That's 3 meetings per week. That's better than absolutely zero. So, and let's say you close 10% of those meetings. So that would be roughly 1 deal per month. So you can see how those numbers stack up. And if I just go over here in terms of, if you were to actually consistently get 3 meetings per week, which is incredibly low, it's on the low end, it's pretty much you not doing much outreach. Month 1, you'd be generating 12 meetings. Month 2, you'd be generating 24 meetings. Month 3, you'll be generating 36 meetings. So you can see how that's stacking up. And if you sit back and think, okay, what's that actually going to do for my business and my pipeline? What's my close rate? Is my close rate 50%? Is my close rate 30%? If it's 50%, then you're in a much better position once you've had those 36 meetings. So people are generally not ready to buy there and then. Only 3% of the market is ready to buy. So you need to try and get this number as high as possible for you to make sure that you're getting an ROI from the time or the money that you've spent on setting this campaign up for yourself. Now, you don't need to overcomplicate this. There's nothing fancy about this. It's not what the gurus are telling you to go and post every single day and create this fancy funnel and run different ads and landing pages. You're literally reaching out to your ideal target audience and getting a response, getting them on a meeting. There's obviously a lot that goes into it. You've got to have good copywriting. You've got to have a good offer. There's loads of things that need to be put into place. But in short, if you boil it down, it's just having human conversations with the right audience and you booking sales calls. So if you want some help actually setting this up for yourself and you're not too sure on what you should be doing, should you be doing it manually? Should you be doing it on autopilot? I don't even know what offer I've got, what strategy I've got. Just click the link below and I will be able to speak to you on a one-on-one basis and we can help you discuss how this might pan out for you.